All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Beautiful Saturday morning if you're living in Houston, Texas. Not exactly sure that it's a beautiful Saturday morning if you're living in, say, Chicago. But we'll find out. We'll find out in just a little bit. Um, I have to tell you guys before we get started with Dr. Osar this morning, this last week, I've really been enjoying myself because I've been working from my house, which I don't get the opportunity to do very much. And it's been really kind of fun hanging out with my fur babies. I've gotten to spend a lot of time with them, taking walks every day. I hope you guys are doing the same thing because getting fresh air is really important right now. And I think there's a lot of messaging going on out there that's talking about like literally stay in the house and don't go anywhere. And I'm not going to tell you to go outside of what your medical professional is telling you, but I think getting fresh air, even if it's in your backyard or on your front porch or whatever, is super important right now. I actually challenged my clients this week to get out and get 20 minutes a day of fresh air and cardio. And I gave them some tips on how to do that, including, just like fast walks across your backyard, doing little ladder sprints, if you will, up and down your driveway. I mean, there's many ways that we can enjoy that fresh air, and I think it's important. So I hope you guys are doing that today. I'm going to take just a second here. We are recording this webinar with Dr. Osar today, but I am going to give my first ever try and see if I can actually go live in our group Facebook page.
Oh, awesome.
So let's just see if I can actually make this work today. It could work, it might not work. Okay, not gonna work today. It's okay, let me see if I can go back and find you on my screen now.
I'm still here, I see you.
I can't see you. I can't see my screen. I don't know, it went away, so I'm not sure what to do here now.
There's some button, like once you go live, it brings you back to your screen.
Yeah, but I can't get into Facebook, so I can't see that.
Yeah, I
there
just
you
got
are.
off a webinar.
Ta-da! There you are. Okay. All right. Well, we're just going to not do that because I don't want to mess it up anymore. But I want to welcome everybody that's joining us live today. And again, I'm back here on a Saturday visiting with my friend and mentor, Dr. Evan Osar from the Chicago Integrative. Is that it? Chicago Institute for Integrative. What is it? Like, you've got so many business names, like pick one.
I know. Honestly, we're using this time to actually consolidate and like, hey, let's get some simpler names. But this company name will not change. It's Chicago Integrative Movement Specialists.
Oh, I was close.
So that actually is our brick and mortar business where we see patients, or I should say, where I was seeing patients until the isolation.
Yeah.
But that's where, we have a clinic here with Integrative Movement Specialist Sarah Fisher, our full-time, soon to be full-time once this gets back, massage therapist Jill Leary, and myself and my wife Janice Maddock.
Yeah. Well, I know for the first year you and I were getting to know each other, I remember you had a hard time remembering if it was evolution, wellness, and fitness or fitness and wellness. It took us a while to get that down, right?
That's right.
I don't know why I was always correcting you. Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Because it was wrong. I was like, evolution, health, and fitness. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I just go to your initials now, and I'm like EFW. No, yeah, fitness and wellness. Yeah,
right. And I usually get yours right. So it's kind of funny to me that I had a little brain lapse this morning. But anyway,
it's all good.
So today, last time you and I got together, we had a great chat about three-dimensional breathing and how that really can help a lot of situations, including, I think we talked about diastasis in that one. I think we talked about hiatal hernias in that one. It was awesome information. And today we're going to talk about healthy feet.
which
and
is
the
huge.
importance of healthy feet, right? And so for those of you that don't know, I've struggled quite a bit with some hip discomfort, which is completely gone away. And I credit the following the process and the techniques that Dr. Osar has prescribed for me as my coach. And I had huge issues with my feet. And I've, in addition to trying thousands of dollars in supplements over my health and fitness lifetime so far, I've spent thousands of dollars on shoes for my feet. And what I didn't realize is how important having your feet being able to splay and actually not be like this and be like this.
Yeah.
And so I've gone to a brand of shoe called Ultras.
Hmm.
And I don't get anything from Ultra to mention their name in this webinar. I want to say that. But I am a huge fan, and it has really changed my ability to be on the floor in my gym all day, every day. So I'm excited to talk to you about healthy feet today, and also how it's such a foundation for other strategies like balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not going to take up any more time chit-chatting here. I'm going to turn this platform over to Dr. O and let him have at it.
Awesome. And there's a chat box or a comment section down there. Please let us know what you think. If you have questions, let us know. I will answer any question except for what's wrong with my feet and what can I do about it. So this is just more educational to help you understand and appreciate the foot as it relates to, as Jackie said, balance, but also walking. And if you're a runner, running as well. And also to reiterate some of the things I know you've heard from Jackie, and that we've shared a couple times. We've been down there together sharing with your community. So thank you for being on. Thank you for allowing us to share this process. And let's get started. I'll share my screen with you. I'm going to pull this up, and as long as you can see it, just give me a thumbs up there.
Beautiful.
Got it. Awesome. All right. So today, healthy feet, the foundation for balance and walking. And if you're a runner, running as well. Okay. So I just want to share a story, and I'm sure you guys know Lillian, or this is one of Jackie's favorite clients, I believe. And it's one of my favorite people as well when I come down and visit you guys. Last time we were down there, I was down there it was a long time ago. It was July last year. Lillian came up to me, and I had been there previously in May doing an in-service for your clients. So Lillian came up to me last July and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know my name is Lillian. I was at your presentation back in May, and you taught me some foot stuff, and that, along with the work that I was doing with Jackie, has completely changed my life. I used to walk with a cane, and she had balance issues. She had come from a hospital. I'll actually let you talk about her in a moment because you know her history better than I did. She said, I walked with a cane. I had fear. She had lots of stress because she lost everything. Was it Hurricane Harvey? Was that the one? She lost basically everything in Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah.
So she was stressed out. She had health issues. And Jackie, you were very instrumental in helping rebuild your community and rebuild her confidence and ability to. She was so excited. You see the look on her face. She was so excited to talk about the work she did with you and the work you did with her in helping her to develop independence.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Lillian first, she came to me by way of a physical therapist that she was working with after a hospital stay for a pretty traumatic fall that she had. And I don't think Lillian will mind us saying that she's in her 80s.
Oh, wow.
And when she called me, she said to me on the phone, I have to do something because there's so many things in my life that I want to accomplish yet, and I need to get better. I need to physically get better in my movement. So the first day she walked into EFW for us to have our visit, she had a very difficult time even walking up the small ramp up into our gym. There's just a little bit of an incline coming to the front door, and she struggled with that. She did not have confidence in walking from the front door to the back of the gym where the restroom is located. And we just started slow with her, working on some very foundational patterns and movements. And she's been with us, I think we're probably moving into at least 2 years that we've been working together. Not only does she train with us 3 times a week, and by the way, since we are also in Stay Home, Stay Safe here in Houston, she's doing her training with us live through
Oh,
Zoom.
that's so
Okay.
fantastic.
So she and her husband David log on 2 or 3 times a week and go through their training.
That's
And
awesome.
in addition to that, they are very dedicated to a practice of Tai Chi. And I think, Dr. O, your information today is going to be, for those of you who have considered Tai Chi in the past, there's a lot of crossover between the things that you teach and educate on and Tai Chi. And so balance and the way we use our foot, or our feet rather, really lend into that. So Lillian's come a long way, baby. We're very, very proud of her, and she is one of my favorite clients. I love all of my clients, but she's just a sweet soul.
She really is. And yes, and I agree with exactly what you said about Tai Chi, because my friend, I know you've worked with my friend and colleague, our friend and colleague, Diane Bailey, who's the developer of Open the Door to Tai Chi. And we've started to collaborate and do courses together because there's such a synergy between what we're going to teach you here with the foot and what the ancient practice of Tai Chi is all about. They use different terms, but what we're trying to accomplish is the exact same thing. So I'm so excited to share with Diane and her program, and it'll fit very nicely with how you're teaching Tai Chi and what they're learning from you in that program as well.
Exciting.
So thank you again for being here. So to me, when we think about the things that you can do today to change and transform your health and to have a long life and a high functioning long life, there's 3 things that you can dramatically change and do today. Number 1 is breath. We talked about the importance of breath last week. So if you missed that, I think there's a recording somewhere. And I know there's a recording of that somewhere. Go back and watch that. Number 2 is balance, and the foot is a big part of balance. We'll talk about that today. Number 3 is brain health. And again, things like Tai Chi have been shown to be very valuable to things like balance, to brain health. The more novel and dynamic your activity is, and novel and dynamic is just relative to your level. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to run and hop over logs and stuff like that. You just have to be novel, different than you're used to, and also somewhat dynamic for you, and it gets your brain involved. So the 3 things that you can do today that you need to do every day is work on your breathing, work on your balance, work on your brain health. We'll talk about balance today. Now, my perspective is I started out as a personal trainer when I was in college, and then I became a chiropractic physician. I developed the Integrative Movement System, the way that we work with our clients here in our clinic and what we teach to health and fitness professionals. I'm also an author of corrective exercise solutions for the hip and shoulder, as well as the psoas solution. So I've spoken all over the world and taught thousands of health and fitness professionals. Now, when I went to chiropractic college, we had 10 trimesters over the course of 3.5 years, and about try 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there, there's a company called Foot Levelers. I'm going to click off of this because some of these pictures aren't showing up. There you go. Cool. So in about try 5, 6, 7, we had a company called Foot Levelers come in and give every single one of us a pair of orthotics. Now, they told us that it would help our feet, it would create more balance and symmetry in our body, and it would actually make us stronger. So they would do a muscle test on me and say, oh, look, Dr. Osar, we weren't doctors yet, but look, Evan, your arm is weak, and look how I can push you down. They give me my orthotics, and then they're like, oh, see how much stronger you are. So I was a bodybuilder at the time. I know you can tell right now, right? But I was really, really big into bodybuilding. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to go to the gym, and I can't wait to work out because I'm going to be, so much stronger than I already was sort of at the time. So I go to the gym that day, and that day was leg day. So I'm like, all right, let me do some squats. So I started to do some squats, some lunges, and I started to develop, I started to have like this little irritation on the inside of my knees. And then I'm like, okay, that's a little different, but I did it for a few times, a few sessions. And then I started saying like, okay, this is becoming more chronic. So I'd go back to these people and the Foot Levelers, and they would say, oh, you just need to break those orthotics in further. And then I would keep using orthotics, and the knee pain never went away. And then I got rid of the orthotics, and then the knee pain went away. And it took me a long time, quite a few years, to try to figure out what happened with those orthotics that caused me to have knee pain. And now I understand what caused me knee pain. is because, as Jackie discussed, and we'll discuss and demonstrate in this presentation, your feet need to go out and wider and really connect to the ground. My foot tends to be high arched and rigid in nature, and I'll explain to you why that is. So you put an orthotic like mine, wider and longer. So how do you compensate if you can't move through your foot? How did I compensate? I started bring my knees together. And that's why I started getting bilateral or both side knee pain on the inside of both knees. So I'll share with you patients who maybe need orthotics and patients who do not need orthotics. And many people are in orthotics that actually don't need them. But again, please don't stop using your orthotics unless you've talked to your medical provider. Talk to your medical provider first, explain to them some of the things you're learning, and then just decide with them if it's appropriate for you to train barefoot and or use orthotics. Now, we talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. We talked about breathing. It's also important to understand that at one point, our body functioned as it should. We had optimal alignment and control. Most of us looked exactly like this little child at one point in our life. We had our rib cage stacked above the pelvis, our pelvises. We had our head stacked above our rib cage, and we had perfectly looking feet. If you look at this little child's foot, you see how nice and straight all her toes are. Then something happened. Life got to us. And now we look more like my client that's over here. The majority of us look more like my client over here. You see this big curve in his low back. You see the shoulder up and forward. You see the head forward. You see the distension in the abdomen. We talked a lot about that last week. And if we see our client's feet, I'll show you some pictures here. The feet are no longer nice and straight and spread out. They're curled up. There may be bunions. There may be hammer toes. There may be claw toes. There may be Taylor's bunions. There may be a flat arch. There may be high arches. It's much different than how we once were. And it's not because of your genetics, and it's not because your mother had bad feet or your father or your cousin or your uncle. It's because we've all done things to our feet that shouldn't have been done to our feet. And I'll explain exactly what those things are. Now, something's happening to my presentation. If you look at the foot of a child compared to the foot of my client, you see something quite different. If you look at the child's foot, you see the toes nice and straight, a nice broad structure or broad surface, I should say, across the front of their foot compared to my client's foot. You see the toes curling in. You see that bunion right there. You see the high arch and rigid type instep there. So very different than what our foot looked like when we were children. So a lot of times you'll get told by your podiatrist, your chiropractor, your medical doctor, oh, that's just how you were born. But you weren't born like that. We were all born like this. I should say the majority of us. Very few of us weren't born like this, but a few of us were. But the majority of us had feet that looked just like that and functioned very well when we were born. But we've done some things that changed our feet. Life happened to us. So we started to take sedentary jobs. Sit too long from the time we were in grade school to college to the time we started to work. We had surgeries, trauma, injuries, maybe broken bones. Maybe you broke a toe. Maybe you broke your lower leg. Maybe you had a cast on. Maybe you had surgery. All those things change your function. The thing we do that impacts our foot from day one is what we do with our shoes. And if you look at the shape of the shoe and the height of the shoe, you know that the foot does not look like that at all. It looks very nice when women wear those shoes. I like when my wife wears those shoes, even though she doesn't wear those shoes. If she did, it would look very nice, but it would really wreck her feet. She worked really hard on her feet, not because she's worn high heels in her life, but because she's worn shoes that were inappropriate. And we'll talk about how shoes impact our feet. Now, the thing I want you to take home, the number one thing I want you to take home from this, besides wear the right shoes, is responsibility is the price of freedom. I love our country. I would not like to live anywhere else. And I hate when people badmouth this country. There's lots of things we could be upset about with our country, but the price of freedom is responsibility. You must be responsible for your actions. And you must be responsible for your health. So when you go to your doctor is your guide, your coach, but it's ultimately your responsibility to do the things that are within your control. That's your mindset, your nutrition, and how you move your body. We're going to share with you, I know Jackie and Jason and their team have shared with you lots of strategies around mindset, around nutrition, around movement. we're going to share with some strategies around proper foot care. So just remember, it's up to you. It doesn't matter how old you are. Yes, structurally, if you're older, maybe your foot has changed structure and shape, and maybe you've had surgery, so structurally you may be different, but there's still things you can do that can improve function of your foot, and I'll share them with you here today. Now, the number one thing you can do to improve your health is, we talked about it last, is breathe. Breathe well, because remember, it keeps you alive. It's also important for postural control. It's also important for strength, stability, and flexibility. So number one thing you can do to change your life right now is to breathe well. I shared with you last time how to do that. Now, the second most important thing you can do to change your life is mind your feet, or take care of your feet. Why? Because your feet are your connection to the ground. It is the connection. Your feet are the connection to the ground. Remember, unless you walk on your hands, there's nothing else touching the ground except for your feet. Unless you fall, then you have a whole lot of body parts touching the ground. And this is what we want to do, is help to give you strategies to avoid those falls. Now, healthy feet began with our very first steps. Remember I said we had healthy feet at one point. The healthy foot is a wide foot. And I want you to look at the shape of a baby's foot. Do you see how wide her foot is in the beginning picture, or in the first days and years of life? And you see how narrow the heel is. So it looks almost like a triangle, and what we call or refer to as a tripod. The adult foot, if it's healthy, will also look very similar. Okay, the only difference, or I should say the main difference between a healthy adult foot and a healthy child foot is the arch support. Children don't have an arch. They develop an arch as they start to get upright and walk. We have more arch support, but again, it should be relatively the same shape, and it should function relatively the same. And again, I want you to picture this: wide in the forefoot or towards your toes, and more narrow in the back. Now, if you look at healthy feet from native cultures, or cultures that don't walk on flat surfaces like concrete and hardwood floors and concrete floors, the foot should be naturally wider and longer. Most native cultures have longer and wider feet than we do here. Our feet are shorter and have higher arches because of the things we do. If you look at this native foot here, you see nice long toes, nice wide foot, and you still see the same foot base that we saw in the child. We will also talk about the foot tripod. So the foot tripod is where you have the most amount of your weight underneath your big toe, your small toe, and your heel. As soon as you transfer that weight off your big toe, you will get problems. So when you start to see things like bunions and hammer toes and neuromas and claw toes, generally speaking, because these people do not have a foot tripod position. Regardless of what the surgeon said or your doctor said, it's not because you were born that way. We were born to put the weight on our big toe. That's why the big toe is so much bigger than the other toes. We've done things that have taken the weight off our big toe. And when we've done that, we change the entire structure of our body. Now, this is a great picture. I love this picture. I don't know where it came from. I just pulled it off the internet, but it shows you what happens when you go into shoes. And do you notice the shape of the shoes? The shoes, the foot has assumed the shape of the foot has assumed the shape of the shoe. And this is exactly with our clients. We see the bunion formation underneath the big toe. We see the tailor's bunion underneath the small toe. We see the toes curled under because the foot has adapted to the shape of the shoe. That is the biggest thing that we've all done from early on in our life that has caused us to change our foot structure. Again, that's not genetics. That's what we've done by forcing our foot into shoes where they don't belong, or shoes in the size that they don't belong in. This happened to me. I was a Catholic schoolboy, so we always had to wear dress shoes. They were very narrow and small. I didn't know any better. And plus, we didn't have a lot of money. So we probably didn't get shoes. I shouldn't say we probably didn't. We didn't get shoes as our feet were growing fast as children. So I had very cramped toes, very high arch foot, because when you have a high arch shoe, a rigid shoe, a very small shoe, it'll bring your arch up. It'll make your foot shorter and narrower. So if you grew up wearing shoes, anything that looked like this, then your foot probably looks a lot like this foot here. That's where the majority of our foot problems started. And then like anything, when you don't use something, there's lots of muscle muscles in your foot. If you don't use it, you will lose it. And that's what ultimately happens and causes this problem as we get into our adult life. Okay. So in other words, traditional shoes wrecked our feet. Here's what the foot should look like. This is my client here. She's got a little tiny bunion, but you see the relative straightness of her toes. Look what happens when you go into high heels. They look sexy, they look nice, but they will, do you see how cramped the toes are? Think about any dress shoes. Look at all these dress shoes, whether you're talking about Chuck Taylors here, dress shoes here, or even these beautiful Cole Haans. I had a pair of these that I had to get rid of because it was just creating this compression of my foot. And once you get into the proper shoes and you go back to shoes like this, your foot will feel like it's suffocating. So that's very important. I apologize. Somebody's vacuuming and the neck's not coming through too loud. So traditional shoes have really wrecked our feet. Like I said, it is not genetics. It's not your hereditary foot. Your foot has been shaped by your shoes, your footwear, and the things that have happened to you through your life, okay? So what happens with age, you get atrophy of those muscles. The muscles shrink, they get smaller, they get weaker. You have decreased mobility. Like I said, I have a very high arch, rigid foot. Many of my clients, that I'll show you later on, the picture of my client, he's got a very high arch, rigid foot. You get decreased strength. So now your foot can't spread out. A strong foot is actually a spread out and controlled foot on the ground. It's not a collapsed foot. It's just a strong, spread out foot. It leads to increased stiffness and fall risk. The more risk, the more fear you have around falling, the more stiff your foot is, the more stiff you make your body, the more likely you are to fall. We talked about that last week as well with breathing. That's why, again, breathing is such an important part of your strategy. Getting your feet to work properly is also an important part of your strategy. So how does this impact posture? You get sarcopenia, which is muscle weakness and atrophy. We're all getting that if you don't take control, and that's why the resistance training you're doing with Jackie is so important. The resistance training you're continuing to do in your house is so important during this time of isolation. You get mobility issues as well. You get balance issues as well, as we talked about. And you also get cognitive decline. Because the less you move, the less optimally you move your body, the less variety you have, the more your brain starts to sort of atrophy as well. So again, all this impacts posture, movement, and your health, including your brain or cognitive health. So here's my client, Jim. These were his shoes before. His shoes before, his feet before. You see the high arch rigid foot, but if you look at his arch there, he's got a high arch rigid foot. He's like, yeah, I know I got flat feet. That's why I wear orthotics. I'm like, dude, your podiatrist has led you down the wrong path. You do not have flat arches. You have a high arch rigid foot and you have toes that are curling in, looking a lot like the shoes that you're wearing. So we had to get him out of his orthotics, get him out of these shoes. We gave him a device called Correct Toes to start to use. I'll share that information with you. Not that you use it yourself, but to just to show you what we use with our clients that have this issue. And this is Jim 15 minutes later. So again, let me just see if I can move this out of the way. This is Jim 15 minutes later after I released some muscles, taught him how to get his toes straighter, taught him how to use those muscles of his foot better. And you see he's starting to get some length back in his feet. He said, oh yeah, my toes don't hurt now and my foot feels like it's more in contact with the ground. That's what we want to feel on the ground. We cannot change this bunion at 65 years of age, but what we can do is make the muscles work more effectively. So this foot is a happier foot than this foot. And these shoes need to be thrown away. A lot of people don't like to hear that because like, I just spent like thousands of dollars on shoes. Well, you're gonna spend tens of thousands of dollars on surgery and rehab if you don't get rid of those shoes. So either get rid of your thousands of dollars of shoes or spend tens of thousands of dollars on surgery and rehab after you've been wearing those shoes for too long. Just a little lecture for right now. That's it. Okay, now, remember that once upon a time, we had proper function, proper posture, proper movement, proper control around our core, around our hips, and around our feet. The principles that we use, and I know Jackie and Jason and their team have taught you these principles: alignment, breathing, control. When we align the joints in the right position, you see my little niece here in all three pictures. Happy baby here on the left. Let me move this again if you can't see that. Happy baby position here on the left. The plank position here, and then the split squat position here. You see perfect alignment of her rib cage over top of her pelvis, her hip, knee, ankle, and foot perfectly aligned. I want to see align, breathe, control. Breathing helps create optimal alignment and control of your core, helps you keep you upright, as we talked about last week, helps you create that mobile body, that flexible body as well. Today, we're going to focus more on alignment and control of the foot. So here's the very first thing I want you to do. Jackie, are you still there?
I am, yes.
Okay, so what I want everybody to do, if you're in your house watching this, I mean, obviously you're in your house watching this, what I want you to do is grab a ball. So grab a ball. I want you to do this with me so that you can feel the difference in your own foot, to show you how different your foot can feel within minutes. Okay, so just I'll just pause for a moment. Jackie, if you have any questions about anything we talked about so far, just let me know. But just grab a ball. I want everybody to do this with me.
I actually do, real quick. So
Yeah, for sure.
on that client photo that you showed,
Yep.
the difference after 15 minutes, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the redness that he's showing at the top of the foot at the arch area,
Right
is
there.
that,
Or this.
yeah, is that due to being in that weird position in his shoes? Like,
No, this
okay.
like where my arrow is right there.
Yep.
No, it's funny. That's from me rubbing on his foot.
Gotcha.
No. But however, I'm glad you brought that up, because if you look right there, that redness right there, that's not from me. That's called a hammer toe. And what's happening with a hammer toe, when you wear shoes like this, your foot gets, if you guys can watch me here, is your foot gets pushed up like that. That's a hammer toe. And do you know why they call it a hammer toe? Because do you know how doctors used to fix this?
They'd
Take a
hammer
guess.
it? No
They
way.
would take a hammer and just smash it back down. So now we've used our sophistication, and what do we do now? We cut the tendon underneath that toe, so the toe goes back down. And we shave the bone down. Not much better. It's just more technical. You'd almost be better to have somebody just smash that back down versus cutting the tendon, because once you cut the tendon, you lose all function of that toe. But again, that's a topic for another day. Don't do that. Don't take a hammer to it.
Do not take a hammer to it. Yeah.
Do not take a hammer to your foot. No, that's not a good idea. But
gotcha.
got
Okay.
it. But that's a hammer toe. That's because he's been wearing shoes like that his entire life, and then he went in orthotics that weren't appropriate for his foot. But again, I just want to have this caveat: do not get out of your orthotics unless you have permission from your medical professional. Do not take this as gospel unless you talk to your medical professional. I am his medical professional, so I can make that judgment for my client, because I've done his history, I've done the evaluation, and it's my liability that's on the line if something goes wrong. Okay? Does everybody have a ball?
Yep, we're ready.
Good. Okay, now I'm using the Activator by Rolga. So this is the device we use by Activator from Rolga. We like this. It's got a nice smooth surface on one end. It's got a little bit of a knobby surface on the other end. That's what I'm using in the picture here. But again, use your ball. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to just roll like this and just be all like kind of crazy with a ball. What I want you to be very specific with what you do with the ball. So what you're going to follow first before we do that. Okay, everybody's going to stand up. So before we do this, let's stand up. I want you to feel your balance. So stand, take your shoes off if your shoes are off. Take your shoes off and stand. Put your feet together, or put your feet wherever you're most balanced. Now, if you're balanced, if you know, like, hey, when I stand on one leg, I'm a little compromised, then just put your hands lightly on the wall, just for a little bit of support. I don't want anybody to fall just doing this, okay? But first, feel your feet on the floor. Get a sense of where your feet are on the floor and where you feel the most amount of pressure on your foot or underneath your foot. Is it more on the inside? Is it more on the outside? Is it more on the inside of one foot and maybe the outside of the other foot? Is it more in the heel? Yes. Many of us will feel our body is shifted. So if you watch my hands, we may have more weight on the inside of one foot, on the outside of the other foot. So for me, I feel more weight on the inside of my right foot, on the outside of my left foot. My left foot is stiffer, more rigid, and I have more balance issues on my left side. So just kind of feel that underneath your own foot. Okay? Now, let's stand up and, oh, you're already standing, sorry. You're already standing. Now what I want you to do is balance on one foot, either foot, and feel what happens to your balance. How hard is it to balance? How easy is it to balance? What happens to your foot and ankle? Put that foot back down. Now go on to your other side. Compare. How hard is it to balance on that side, and where's the weight on that foot? Is it on the inside, outside? Is your ankle wobbling more? Are you trying to grip the floor with your toes? Are your toes gripping the floor a little bit more? So just compare side to side. Do that one more time each side. And just take the foot of the harder side it is to stand on. If both sides are hard, just choose one. But you probably have one side that's a little bit more challenging to stand on. Almost everybody does. Okay? So for me, it's my left side, and that's why I'm doing the left side in this video. Okay? Here we go. Now, have a seat towards the edge of your chair. Put the ball right in front of the heel. So right your arm right in front of the heel. The cool thing about this is this will work whether you have a high arch rigid foot. It will also work if you have a collapsed flat arch foot. That's really, the really cool thing about this technique is it can help either foot type. Now, just watch me. I'm going to play this video. So you got the ball just in front of your heel. Let me just move this here. Okay. So if you watch now, I'm going to push down lightly with my foot into the ball or into the activator and hold, and then now go to the mid arch of your foot. So now you've held it there on the heel. Now go up to the mid arch. Same thing. Push down lightly and hold it. It may be uncomfortable slightly. It shouldn't be unbearable. The reason why I want you to do this sitting is because I don't want you to stand up and lose your balance. Do it in the seated position and just kind of lean forward. Okay? Now, the one thing I just want to say is if you look on your screen here, do not rub directly underneath your big toe. That's the only place on your foot you do not want to directly rub. The reason why is you have two little tiny bones underneath your big toe. They're called sesamoid bones. Your kneecap is also a sesamoid bone. Your shoulder blade, your scapula is also a sesamoid bone. It just means a bone that's inside a muscle. Do not rub directly underneath the ball of the big toe. You can rub anywhere else on the foot, just not underneath. Don't rub those sesamoid bones because you will irritate them and they will not be happy. But you can go right behind your big toe. So the next spot I want you to take is to go right behind your big toe.
Okay, so Dr. O, are you talking about the pad of the big toe when you say
Yes.
that? Okay.
The pad of the big toe, absolutely.
Not the space like right before the toe attaches to the pad.
Correct. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I'm gonna put my. Let's see if I can put my foot up here.
I just want to be clear because.
So
Yeah.
if you look at my foot, actually, I'm using this product that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to take that out. But if here's my big toe.
Yep.
It's that right there.
Pad.
Do not rub underneath the ball of the big toe. You can rub right below it, right there.
Yep.
You can rub actually even above it, up there. Just don't rub right there, directly underneath the ball. You can rub anywhere else on the foot. That's all safe territory. Okay?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Cool. You got it. Good question. Okay, now we've got that done. Now we want to go to the midfoot. So now what you're going to do, let me just show you my foot again. If you guys could just look up here real quick. Now, let me move this over, bring this down. Now we're going to put the ball right here. So right underneath the middle toes. So maybe the toes 2 through 3 here, right underneath the balls of the joints 2 through 3.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
There you go. And now, spread your foot over that ball. Don't roll it, just spread it. So you'll see me here, spreading the foot over the activator. You'll feel a stretch through the top of your foot. That's a good thing. Because as we talked about earlier, remember the more primitive foot, the foot of people that don't walk on concrete, that don't wear shoes, that wear just kind of minimal type shoes, their foot is wider and longer. We want the foot to go wider and longer. We need the foot to spread out. When you have claw toes like this, if your toes are clawed like this, or they're hammer toes like my client, that means your foot is short and tight. You need to spread those muscles out to allow those toes to come longer as long as they can come. Okay, so spread your foot over top the ball. You can, if you can lean over, you can even lean over and just kind of manually spread and stretch your foot around the ball as well. Okay, cool. Okay, now we'll also do the outside of the foot here as well. Actually, hold on a second before you do that. So with the roll or the activator, with your toes over the top of the ball like this, what I want you to do is as it's in this position, I want you to slowly start to lift your toes up and reach your toes long. You're trying to get your toes to come long. So this is my foot over top of the activator, and my toes I'm trying to send my toes long as if they're coming out towards the viewer on you as a viewer, okay?
Yep.
So I'm gonna wrap my toes down around, and now I'm reaching my toes long out here towards you as a viewer. Not up towards the ceiling, but out long. Because remember, you have muscles of your feet that should be working. What we're trying to do is not only spread the foot out, create more mobility of the foot, we're also trying to make the feet work better, to wake them up. Because the cool thing about this is there's 3 areas of your body that your brain pays a lot of attention to. The first area of your body that the brain pays a lot of attention to, so keep working through this as I talk to you, is your face.
Yep.
Because your eyes, your ears, your taste, your smell, most of your senses are right here. And that's why children taste things, they look at things, they put things in their ears and up their nose. They're trying to create this environment. Hopefully just children do that. They're trying to create this environment where they're learning. They're learning about their body. They're learning about their senses. They're creating what we call and refer to as proprioception, which just means an awareness of your body. The second area of your body where there's the most amount of energy and attention is your hands. And that's why we touch things, we feel things, we want to grab things. We want to touch things because we pick up a lot of sensation through the hand, the palm, the skin, the muscles, the ligaments, the tissues that are in our hand. That sends a lot of signals back to the brain. The third area, face, hands. Third area, feet. And when you think about what we do to our feet, we shove them in socks, we shove them in shoes, we walk on flat surfaces, we basically numb the foot. So the brain is like, I don't really know what to do because I'm not getting the right messages from the thing that is connected to the ground. When you think about this, you're not connected to the ground except through your feet. And now we're numbing that with socks and shoes that don't fit. No wonder why we have so many issues with balance and walking. I hope that makes sense. Just give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Or just tell Jackie that in the chat section, just say, hey, that makes a lot of sense.
Dr. O, I know that you have another webinar stacked on top of this, so I just want to give you, you're right there.
Okay, sorry. We're almost done. Okay, now stand back up for me, please. Now, what I want you to do is compare your 2 feet. Which foot feels better connected to the ground, or which foot are you more aware of now? Obviously, it's a foot you just worked on, right?
Yep.
Now, check your balance again. Stand on the foot that you just worked on. See how your balance is now compared to before. Now stand on your other foot. See what your balance is like on that side. It's probably completely different. When your foot is better connected to the ground, you have the ability to stabilize your foot, to control your balance, to send those signals back to your brain about what your foot is doing, what your posture is doing, and where you should be in space. This is something you want to do every single day. Just like you're breathing, you need to do it every single day, just like you brush your teeth every single day. It doesn't take long, it takes minutes to do, but can create dramatic changes in your posture, your balance, and your movement. Okay, cool. Now, you must also do foot exercises, daily foot exercises. So here's me doing my foot exercises. I'm standing at the edge of a step. You don't need to do that. You can just stand on the floor. And what I'm doing is lifting my toes up and then slowly putting them down over the edge of the step. But again, you just do this on the floor. You don't need to stand on the step like I'm doing. I'm just trying to show you that my feet are lifting, my toes are lifting up and coming back down. That's working the small muscles of the feet so that you're starting to wake up those muscles of your feet that have been numb for so long for being inside shoes and the wrong size shoes. I'll also turn to the side so you can see it from the side. So my feet go to the edge, but again, just do this on the floor. You don't need to be on a step. And I just reach my toes down and then slowly lift my toes up, trying to get my toes to go long and my foot to spread out. Toes go down, toes come up, and I'm keeping my weight on that foot tripod underneath the big toe, the small toe, and heel. Okay? So you just do about 5 repetitions in each 5 repetitions down into the floor, 5 repetitions back up off the floor. Okay? Now, you also need to move from this position. So here I am. I set up my alignment. I do my hinge. And all I do is I step out and control my foot tripod. I step back. I control my posture. I'm controlling my foot tripod on the side that's not moving. So I'm starting to work on my balance without changing my alignment. So that's just me setting up my alignment. I'm doing my hinge, and I know Jackie and Jason and their team have talked all about the hinge. Hinge is the next most important pattern after the foot tripod. And you see, I'm maintaining my balance. And for some people, this is incredibly hard. For other people, it's not so hard. So you just make it as hard or as challenging as you need to, okay? Now, let's finish up the conversation talking about shoes. If you look at the difference between shoes, this is a shoe I used to wear before I learned all this. You see how narrow it is compared to the shoe I now wear. Jackie talked about Ultra. Ultra is one of the better shoes. It allows you to get your foot spread out. Because when we think about the shape of the shoe, yep, you got yours. This is actually my Ultra right here, the Ultra that's actually in the picture right there. And it allows me also to use this device here called Correct Toes. I'm also wearing my toe socks here. That's another good product that you can use as well. So if you look at Ultra, this is from my friend who designed Ultra, Golden Harper. He allowed me to use a slide. Here's your Ultra shoe. Here's your foot in an Ultra shoe. Here's your foot in a traditional shoe. You see the difference. This is where the foot should be. This is where the foot is in a traditional shoe and or gym shoe. You want a shoe with a wide toe base. All you have to do is go to ultra.com or something like that. Just type in Ultra. It'll come up. Again, like Jackie said, I make no money by saying that. Golden Harper doesn't send me any money because I tell you to go Ultra. We go to Ultra. We go to people that we believe in, we trust, and products that we use. So embrace space, avoid the squeeze. The other product, like I mentioned, is Correct Toes. This was designed. This is the Correct Toe product that I had in my foot here. This is the product right here, Correct Toes. This was designed by my friend and colleague, Dr. Ray McClanahan. Dr. Ray McClanahan is a podiatrist. He used to do tons of surgery, and he told me in an interview, he's like, I barely do surgery anymore. I teach people how to align their foot, how to develop their foot muscles, and when necessary, use the correct toes. So I'm not telling you to use Correct Toes. I'm telling you we use them, we find value in them, and actually there's research around that shows that Dr. Ray McClanahan shared this with me. When your toes are more spread out, you increase blood flow to your foot. And when you compress your toes, like in a tight shoe, you decrease blood flow. Now think about that if you have diabetes or you have peripheral neuropathy, if you have restricted blood flow in your extremities, and now you're restricting more blood flow to your feet. That's why spreading your foot out is so important. That's why this product works so well. But again, please use your due diligence. Go to your medical provider. You can actually reach out to Dr. McClanahan on his website, Correct Toes. And again, we make no money from recommending this product. We just believe in people that are doing great work. And I see that they actually have a sale on right now. It's $55 as opposed to $65 as well. So again, what about the flat foot? Flat feet are not the problem. So if somebody tells you you have flat feet, that's not the problem. The problem is when your foot is sitting on the ground like this guy over here, like my patient here, whose navicular bone, you see that bone right there? Don't worry about the bone name. It's sitting on the floor. That is an uncontrolled flat foot. This is a controlled flat foot. If you have a controlled flat foot, it's okay. You don't need an orthotic. You don't need arch support. You just need to know how to use your foot tripod and use the muscles. This person should also do barefoot work, but they probably need an orthotic. So in conversations with Dr. Ray McClanahan and with my own personal experience here in my clinic, probably about 10% of our patients, maybe even less, maybe 5%, actually need an orthotic. Most of our clients, we need to take out of orthotics. But again, I'm going to say it one more time. I know I'm sort of repeating myself like a broken record. Don't come out of your orthotics unless your medical provider has given you that advice. I'm not your doctor, but just for my patients, most of them we have to take out of their orthotics. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. There's things you can do every single day, and you should do every single day. I know Jackie and their team have talked to you repeatedly about these things. Please take advantage of their expertise. Your brain health. Do things that are novel. Do things that challenge you on a daily basis. Work on your posture and movement. Work on your breathing. Work on your nutrition. Eat good food. Drink plenty of filtered water. Use the power of your mindset. Your mindset is the most powerful tool that you have. Use the power of your mindset. Develop great relationships. Nurture those relationships even though we're in social isolation. Reach out on the phone, text, email. We have FaceTime. We have Zoom. We have opportunities like this to reach out to each other. Let's support each other. Let's make everyone's lives better. even though we're in isolation right now. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me directly through iihfe.com. We're also on Instagram, iihfe as well. That's our online education companies. You can reach me through there. And again, I'm happy to field any questions if you have time. I know we went a little bit long because, Jackie, we always say this, once you and I get talking, it's we can talk
really
all day.
bad. Yeah, we can talk all day. And I know that you have another commitment that you need to rush off to. So I really appreciate your time today and sharing this information. I have Janet was on and she said, thank you. I enjoyed this informative
Thank you,
piece
Janet.
and your caring nature. I agree.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I appreciate
Very
it.
giving guy. So folks that are watching this live or anybody on the replay, if you have additional questions that you would like me to get answers to from Dr. Osar, I will collect those. Just email, text, or call me, and then I'll share them. And then maybe you and I, Dr. O, can get back on and just do a Q&A session and answer
For sure.
maybe on the breathing and now the foot.
Yeah.
And just let
Let's
people
do that. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun.
Karen says great information. And our friend Donna Gartner says, oh my God, I love this guy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Very kind.
I share your sentiments, Donna, as well. I always get some new information. So Dr. O, we're going to let you go. And then we'll just touch base real soon. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for all you do. And you guys, please be safe. Take care of your families and have a great weekend. Passover and or Easter, depending on what you celebrate. If you celebrate nothing, just enjoy the great weekend and your loved ones.
Absolutely. Same to you. Say hi to your wife for us, okay?
I will. Say hello to Jason and your team as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I will. Thanks. Bye-bye.